Okay, so your next picture frame is going to be your final one, and this is with really nice picture frame material. This is actually material that we got from a picture frame company that went out of business, and these are all the materials that they had left over. And you're first going to have to figure out how to orient, which way is the rabbit facing. So again, you'll notice we have a rabbit here. This is where the picture is going to come sit down. So you have to figure out, okay, which side is going to sit tight to the wall, which side is the front of the frame, and then which side is the inside. So for this one, this is the unfinished side, so this is going to be the back, just like we had the back on our other frame. Okay, so this was the back. Well, this is the back of this one. Then this right here is the side, like this one, and then here is the front. So here's the front, and then here's the inside with that rabbit. So this is the same orientation as this one right here. So then we would do a miter cut here, and then a miter cut here. Now, the thing I want you guys to work on today is figuring out, we can get an 8x10 picture frame out of this. Okay? So if we're getting an 8x10, then we have to figure out what pieces we're going to cut out of each of these sticks. Each of these sticks is about 3 feet long. Okay? So if we have to figure out how long our piece is. So what we need to do here is you need to figure out, because each of yours is going to be different. So the first thing is, how thick is your material from, why is this not focusing? From this point right here to this point. So I'm going to measure that, the thickness of that piece, which is roughly 3/8. So you are going to get one long piece, one of the 10, but it's going to be more than 10 inches because we're going to add that thickness that I just that we just measured right here. So don't just cut it to 10 inches and 8 inches, just like we didn't cut. This is a 4x6, but the 4x6 is this inside rabbit, plus we had to add the dimension of this. Okay? So our piece was actually, if you remember, it was 8 7/16 from outside, or long point to long point. And this one, even though this was for the 4-inch, this ended up being 6.5. So in the same way, we need to figure out this. Now here's the easiest way I think to do that. The easiest way is to start by cutting one miter on your board, but you got to make sure, again, we know that this is the inside, so this is going to be the short point. So if I go like this, this is going to be a long point, and we're going to go in towards the rabbit to make our miter cut look like that. So you always want a flat surface on the bottom of your miter box and a flat surface to the back fence of your miter box. So I'm putting the flat surface down, and then I'm going to cut my miter back towards my rabbit. Now again, this is going to be finished material, so we got to be really careful. So I always start by tilting my saw here, pressing down, and pull back very carefully. I'm going to pull back again to get in that groove. And now I'm going to lock both of these in, making sure not to cut my finger. And I'm going to cut really carefully, making sure I stay perfectly at 90 degrees, going up, and 45 degrees twist. So tilt is 90 degrees up, so keep it tight to one side and one side to really get this where you want it. I'm going to go here. Make sure I get my cut all the way down. Remember, it cuts on the push. So now what I want to look at is I got a clean cut on the back. Looks like I got a clean cut here and clean cut here. Okay? Now when you're handling pre-finished material, you want to be careful that you don't scratch it. So you don't want to just lay it down, then move it around on a rough surface, because what's going to happen is that's going to get all scratched up. So you really have to be careful as you're working with this material. So if you have like a cloth or something that you can put that on, that's what I would do. So now what we're going to do is make an 8 by 10. Okay? So we're not going to measure 10 inches from here. We're always going to get a long and a short piece out of our 3-foot pieces. Okay? Long and a short. You can't get too longs and you can't get too short. So you got to make sure we do this correctly. Now, the other thing is before I make my cut, I want to make sure that this is what I want. So you'll notice I'm a little bit, it's not perfectly square there. So what I might try to do is take my sandpaper here and just put it down on the table. Make sure and I'm just going to sand that a little bit. Be very careful how much you sand, because we don't want to change the angle. You got to make sure you put it flat on that angle. So we're not changing the angle, but we do need to sand a little bit out of this part here. I'm going to sand that a little bit. I'm starting to get that. You can see I still have a few saw marks in the middle. So I'm going to sand just the bottom part here, keeping it at 45 degrees. And now I'm going to test that again. Yeah, I like that better. Now that angle right here is more at 90 degrees. And I can also test to see if this is at 45, which I'd say that's pretty good. Okay, so now what I need to do is make my measurement. So again, I'm going to do what's called burning an inch. So I'm going to go to the rabbet right here. I'm going to measure 10 inches, but I'm going to start by putting my tape at the 1 inch mark because it's much easier to do that. So I'm going to go here, put it at 1, and then I'm going to add, I'm going to count my inches. So I'm going to lay that down. So I'm going to go 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put a crow's foot right there. And there is my mark. So again, 10 inches from the inside or the short part of this miter, not out here or from this rabbet, and not from here. So from the inside of the rabbet, this is going to be 10 inches, just like from here to here was 6 inches, not from here to here. Then we have to decide which way we're going to cut our miter. And the way I like to remember this is if I put my arm or my hand at the angle of this miter, and I put my hand here, my hand should create an X if they were to extend out. So that means that my miters would go this direction, not that direction. And the reason why is because if I put my hand this direction and this direction, those are parallel. So we need to make this point go longer. So now what we do is we get our square, and I'm going to line the square up right at that 10-inch mark. And I'm going to draw my 45 degrees out. Okay, so there's my 45. Now I'm going to draw my 90 degrees up. Right up there. So I have my 90 degrees going up, my 45 degrees going back, and I could even take this and hook it on there and go 90 degrees up. And I know exactly where to start cutting my piece. So really double check this measurement. Again, long point to long point. Now I'm going to line this up. And I'm going to start by putting, if you can put yours flat here like this, mine can. I can put this flat. And I'm going to start by making my cut right here at my 90 degrees. So I know that this is going to be 90 straight up and down. Okay. A little bit further down. And now I can make my 45. So I'm going to line that cut right up with this one right here. And I'm not going to cut 45 from this point. It's got to go all the way back. And what I could even do, nope, because that would be the wrong angle. If you want, you could come right here and line up your saw you could go like this now if your piece is flat, but see, I don't like that because it's not flat, so it's going to change my angle. So I think the easiest way is to come here, go at 45, get it in your slot there, and if anything, go further out than you think. So I'm going to line it up. Trying to think of an easier way to do this. Yeah, because see, this can move too much. We need that. So I might make my square line right through my mark there and then bring it here. So you guys kind of choose which one's your easiest, because you could also go like this and line the saw up and make your cut here. But I think the easiest is here. Line it up, perfect. And then make your cut down. If you can clamp your piece, I think you'll be better. Your piece won't move on you. So I would definitely clamp your piece. right down that pencil, or down our 90-degree mark. And we're right at our 10-inch mark here on the inside. So then we would just sand this. And then you could test to see if this is 90 degrees. It should match perfectly if you did those right. Okay, so that's your cut for today.